Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we return to talking about the liberal darling Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC, as she is now referring to herself. AOC? What does she think she is? JFK or something? Give me a break. This whole Alex Cortez wave of popularity seems so forced to me too. People keep acting like she's going to be president one day. Yeah, right. I mean, it is possible, but she better get a hell of a lot smarter and more put together in the next 6 years she has to wait to run. Until then, it will be fun getting to see her fall apart and destroy her credibility, one tweet at a time. Really, Alex says some of the dumbest things ever on Twitter and other social media too, on a daily basis. And that's why I decided to come up with this new video series. This video is the first episode in a series I call Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Dumbest Tweets of the Week. You see, social media and marketing online have become pretty big in politics lately. President Trump used Twitter, the internet, and social sites like Reddit extremely effectively in his victorious 2016 campaign for president, Papa Bless. And Trump continues to play the old school mainstream media against modern social media to this day, and he does a great job at it. And recently, there's been a wave of Democrats imitating him, trying to pull off similar social media campaigns, but mostly, they're just failing miserably at it. Besides AOC's tweets and Instagrams, which we'll get to shortly, well, also, who can forget the time Elizabeth Warren, aka Pocahontas, she tried to be cool by drinking a beer on a live stream. What a putz. And then how can we forget when another Democratic politician, Beto O'Rourke, he live streamed his visit to a dentist office for some weird reason. I guess these losers are trying to look relatable or something. And they're also trying to get themselves out there as people are considering who will run for the Democrats in the presidential election in 2020.
I'm glad for everybody who's joining this video. It's great to hear from you. Hold on a sec. I'm gonna get me a beer. Hey, Robert, my husband Bruce is now in here. You want a beer?
No, I'll pass on the beer for now.
Okay, great. Now that we got all that preface out of the way, let's jump into some of these tweets. First, we got a video from a little while back where Alex Cortez was streaming and accidentally revealed she doesn't know how our government works. Check this bullshit out.
Is that should we, and if we work our butts off to make sure that we take back all three chambers of Congress, all three chambers of government, the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2020, we can't start working in 2020.
You see what I was saying before? She basically takes herself down at this point. The more AOC talks and streams and tweets, the less credibility she has. She doesn't even know what the three branches of government are. It's not the presidency, the Senate, and the House, you dummy. It's the executive branch, which is the president, and then it's Congress and the Supreme Court. The Senate and the House are both parts of Congress, or the legislative branch. Jesus Christ. I'm having flashbacks to my high school government classes. This is stuff most Americans learn when they're teenagers, yet AOC is a 29-year-old and she still doesn't have it all down. Not to mention, she just ran and won a seat in government, yet she doesn't even know how our government really works. What an idiot. But this does explain a lot of her other dumb statements. She has no idea what's going on clearly, and as you'll soon see, it's pretty fun to watch Alex screw up so much. Next, let's look at a tweet she sent out back in November. Then we'll get to another more recent one, don't worry. It's just that Alex has said so much dumb shit in the past few months, we gotta play a little catch up here in this first episode. And also, I think this tweet particularly shows how dumb, naive, and entitled Cortez is. It says, "Oh no, they discovered our vast conspiracy to take care of children and save the planet," with a picture of some of her radical new democratic ideals below it, which we'll also get to. But first, let's address that statement. Alex really thinks she's saving the world, doesn't she? And that's pretty funny, you know, because I would say maybe the president or another big country's political leader could say something like this, but I don't think Alex quite understands her role in this world, or in this government. Sure, she won an election into federal office, but she's also just one of 435 other representatives in Congress. Now, I don't want to completely discount this position either. Alex may have some chances to make significant moves in politics, but let's not pretend she has the power to change the whole world, or even the whole country, or her whole state. Shit, the Speaker of the House is Nancy Pelosi right now, another Democrat, and she has been a representative for San Francisco for decades, and she has yet to do shit about fixing all the poo in its streets, or the drug problems, or the rampant crime. So, if these Congress people can't change their own districts, do you really think they have the power to change the whole world? Please. And another thing about being a politician in the House of Representatives, well, there hasn't been a president elected after being a representative since James Garfield all the way back in 1881, over 130 years ago. And you know why? Because representatives aren't that big of a deal. They have very little power and essentially are just paper pushers in the grand scheme of things. Sure, there have been about 19 other representatives who went on to be president, but they had to move their way up the ranks first, often becoming senators or governors along the way, positions which have much more significant powers than representatives. And that also means they have to win much bigger elections across entire states. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, though, on the other hand, she just had to get a handful of votes in comparison, all from just one tiny district within New York City, which itself is within the state of New York, a bigger state. So I think you get my point. Next, let's move on to the picture below this tweet. These new Democrats got some interesting plans, which basically amount to promising the voters free stuff, free everything, free college, free healthcare, and other juicy benefits. I think they're even going to give you a ham sandwich on Fridays. Now, we all know most of these promises are going to be empty and not fulfilled, and they're ones which will cost trillions of dollars that need to come from somewhere, right? Well, Alex's big brain plan is to tax us all to death to pay for all this free stuff. She wants to raise taxes up to 70% for some people, and I say that's absolutely outrageous. I'm already sweating the almost 30% in taxes I'm going to have to pay already, but Alex really wants even more than that? What a goddamn socialist. If your solution to your country's problems is to give poor people free stuff so they vote for you, you might be a socialist. You might be a socialist if you even think college or healthcare should be free in the first place. First of all, everyone doesn't need college. Sure, it's a great opportunity and many people should go, but giving educations away for free to people who don't really want or need them just sounds stupid and a waste of money and a waste of our tax dollars. And ironically enough, the people proposing this nonsense are the ones in need of educating. And I also find it funny that Alex Cortez opposes building the wall for a mere $5 billion, yet she's proposing these free things that are going to cost us trillions. Absolutely ridiculous. And what about the healthcare part of this? Do you guys really want your doctors and nurses to not get paid well? These hospitals have all sorts of million-dollar machines and equipments, which experts need to train for years to learn how to operate and maintain. But somehow, if you need an x-ray or an ultrasound or some sort of complicated surgery like replacing your heart or something, that's supposed to be free now? I really don't follow this logic at all, and I'm perfectly content with paying my doctors properly for their services rendered. This is why in socialist systems, this profession stops attracting the smart and talented people they need. Because, I mean, you can't really make money when all your customers don't have to pay. Next, Alex says she wants to abolish ICE, the cops and trained professionals who are protecting our borders from the criminals, the thieves, and killers who are trying to sneak into this country. Genius move, Alex. What's next? Let's get rid of all cops and firefighters too? I mean, why do we even need gates or fences or locks on our front doors? Let's just abolish the doors to people's houses. Let everyone in. I'm sure she's not going to be doing that at her apartment. She's not leaving the door wide open. And I'm really starting to feel the giant sense of entitlement coming from AOC now. She won an easy election in a small section of the Bronx in New York, but now she thinks she has a mandate to change the whole country from the ground up? What an idiot. Alex wants free everything. Free college, healthcare, and government benefits for everyone. And how does she want to pay for all that? Well, like I said before, Alex feels entitled to 70% of all of our incomes. You know, because a 29-year-old former bartender knows how to spend your own money better than you do. What an entitled idiot. And she's an out-of-control socialist to boot, too. Ouch. Next, before we go, we got one more Alex tweet that was from just last week, and it's chock full of even more stupid shit than before. Take a look. It says, the president defended neo-Nazis who murdered a woman in Charlottesville. The Department of Justice sued him for not renting to black tenants. He launched this campaign by calling Mexicans rapists. He banned Muslims. The president is racist. And that should make you uncomfortable. Wow. Just wow. I really don't know what to make of all this bullshit. One thing is clear though. AOC does not like our president, clearly. So I guess in order to attack him, she thought she would launch out this list of lies on Twitter and it would work. It's kind of like that Gish-Gallop debate technique where you just keep talking and moving forward quickly, making point after point without supporting them. But since you're moving so quickly, no one has time to check you on your statements in real time. But fortunately for us, I do have time to set this tweet straight. Let's go ahead and go over this point by point and say why it's all wrong. First, Alexa said the president defended neo-Nazis who murdered a woman in Charlottesville. And well, first of all, there wasn't this large group of Nazis who murdered some woman in Charlottesville. It was one guy guy, James Fields, who drove his car into her and killed her. Even that part of it was debatable too for a while. Many still think it was an accidental death, since the victim was standing in the street blocking traffic. Her name was Heather Heyer, and she didn't exactly die from the car's impact, but from a heart attack or something that happened along the way to the hospital, implying she might have had a poor medical history. Regardless though, she did die, and it is tragic, but the only reason lefties like AOC bring this up is because they try and use Charlottesville as a way to pretend there are still Nazis running around all over America. There aren't, and there certainly isn't any proof that Trump defended neo-Nazis. And he certainly never defended the killer here, James Fields. In fact, I have proof that Trump did the exact opposite. This article from Cincinnati.com has quotes of Trump condemning the driver who killed Heather Heyer. Here, Trump says James Fields is a murderer and a disgrace, which is pretty much the exact opposite of defending him, like what Alex Cortez suggested. Next, Alex says that the Department of Justice sued Trump for not renting to black tenants. But instead of pointing out that this case was from 1973, over 45 years ago, well, Alex is pretending this happened just yesterday. It's also worth noting that suing someone doesn't mean they're guilty. Rich, important businessmen like Trump, they get sued all the time for all kinds of wild and crazy stuff. But unless they lose the case and are convicted guilty, then they aren't. This guilt was never assigned to Trump either, by the way. So implying that they are guilty just because they got accused is just plain misleading. Trump settled this issue out of court and hasn't had any issues like it since then, and that's pretty much good enough for me. Next, Cortez says Trump launched his campaign by calling Mexicans rapists, which of course is another misleading misrepresentation, or some might just call it a flat-out lie. Trump never said all Mexicans are rapists. He merely said many of the illegals crossing the border are, which is true. That's why almost 80% of females crossing the border say they were sexually assaulted along the way. A terrible tragedy for sure, and it's one which Alex Cortez is ignoring because she just wants to attack someone she doesn't like here. Way to change the world there, champ. Rounding things out, coming into the home stretch here, Alex says the president banned Muslims. A pretty short, odd thing to say. And if I wasn't keeping my finger on the pulse here, I might not even know what the heck she's talking about. Banning Muslims? What does that mean? Really, Cortez is referring to the supposed Muslim ban, which was actually a travel ban from some of the world's most dangerous countries, trying to keep criminals out of America again. Thanks, Trump. And sure, a few of these banned countries had a lot of Muslims in them, but that doesn't make this a Muslim ban. That's just stupid. And it's biased left-wing propaganda once again. And do you notice a trend here? The president makes moves to make this country safe and more protected, and the Democrats just keep making up bullshit reasons why that's racist and needs to stop. Same thing is happening with the border wall and illegal immigration, and now the travel ban, which was just mentioned. Trump and us conservatives want security and strength, and for this country to be safe. But Alex and the Democrats want crime, violence, and chaos, and they want us to be endangered so they can win elections and get power again. Lastly, Alex simply says the president is racist, and that should make you uncomfortable. It doesn't though, because this isn't true. Might as well ask me if I'm afraid of ghosts or Freddy Krueger or something, because these made-up fantasies are just as real as Trump's supposed racism, sexism, and supporting of Nazis. Democrats like Alex Cortez are just basically making shit up at this point. She's young, dumb, and really needs to stop. What do you guys think? Is AOC one of the stupidest politicians you've ever seen? Do you think she's comparable to Trump at all? Some say she's a left-wing version of him, but I just don't see it. Trump is an older, smarter, and experienced businessman, while also saying a few funny and out there things on Twitter for dramatic effect. Alex, on the other hand, is young, inexperienced, and not very smart at all. And in my opinion, she just makes a fool of herself every time she speaks online. Comment your thoughts on all of this below, and make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed this new series. Let's try and get, say, 5,000 likes, and I'll bring back this Alex Cortez dumb tweet series, and we could go over more of the dumb things she said next week. Thanks again for watching today, and we'll see y'all next time.